To quote the late, great Johnny Cochran, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Doug Christie and the Sacramento Kings have been cleared of any wrongdoing in a tanking probe. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I am James Hammer, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320, the Kings Beat, and of course, host of Locked On Kings. We got lots to discuss today, even though it's a second day in a row of off days. We're going to finish the show with DeMar DeRozan night. The Kings are celebrating DeMar DeRozan, and some fan decided to pick a fight with DeMar DeRozan on Twitter. So we'll dive into that. In the middle block, we're going to dive into whether Doug Christie will be back and why that question is really, really difficult to discuss today versus a week from now, and why there isn't a bunch of coaching candidates already lining up, because that's bad form. Before we get into that, the Kings have been cleared. Oh my gosh, celebration in the streets of Sacramento. The NBA official statement. The NBA issued the following statement today regarding the Sacramento Kings investigation. The NBA has completed an investigation of the Sacramento Kings and head coach Doug Christie's decision to foul intentionally late in the team's game against the Golden State Warriors on April 7th. The league's investigation determined that Christie mistakenly believed that the Warriors were not in the penalty and therefore instructed his team to foul in an attempt to stop the clock and utilize one of the team's remaining timeouts. The investigation found that Christie made no intentional effort to give the Warriors a shooting foul or to cause the Kings to lose the game. End quote from the NBA. So there we have it. The Kings have been exonerated by the NBA of Draymond Green's accusations regarding tanking. And that's what this is. It's a Draymond Green created debacle, like so many other things. Someone might want to find Green for submitting a false tanking report. The league should also potentially have an anti-snitching rule, right? Like, isn't that something that's anti-snitching? That makes sense, right? Anyway, I went to the Kings practice on Thursday and asked Doug Christie, both Sean Cunningham from KCRA3, and I discussed with Doug Christie, asked Doug Christie questions, including for him to describe what was going through his head when the ill-fated foul took place. We're going to play that tape right now.
I mean, I know who we are and what we do, so it doesn't bother me. Just because people have comments doesn't mean anything. I would never put our organization, I would never put Scott and BJ in any type of position like that. I have too much respect for the game. I have too much respect for our players. I have too much respect for this city. Just wouldn't do it, period. We're out there to win, and our guys are going to play hard till the very end, period.
So when you hear this, why don't you describe to us what went through your head in that moment?
In which moment?
In the moment where you called the timeout.
Well, I should have called a timeout actually to play before that when it was 3:49 on the clock, but doing the math, that's 24 and 24 is 48. Figured we would go get a quick shot, and then I'd still be able to use the timeout. I wanted to give our guys rest, but at the same time, didn't want to waste the timeout. So we went down, the clock kind of dragged on, and the ball went out of bounds after we scored the bucket, and they kind of let it drag for 5 seconds or so, so it started getting low. So I still wanted to get it. Didn't realize that they were in the penalty. Looked across the court, though, and seen, who we would have fouled, but they had their two best players getting ready to do a pick and roll, so just told Doug to foul. Should have told him who to foul, but he fouled, and, not a big deal. I still got the timeout in that moment, learned a couple valuable lessons. One, under 4 minutes, just call your timeout and do what you need to do. Also, make sure that I'm checking before I say foul and make sure that those guys aren't in the bonus. But, basketball is all about learning.
Cool. And it's a use it or lose it situation there, right? With the timeout.
And we've lost it before. And, had I known that they were in the bonus, we would have lost it then. But, he did miss a free throw.
All right, that's Doug Christie discussing the situation. The use it or lose it thing, just so people understand. The Kings had 3 timeouts left. If you don't use a timeout, if we get past the 3-minute mark, one of those timeouts disappears. That's the way it's written into the rule book. It's a TV timeout. And so basically it's a slightly longer timeout. That's what Doug Christie was trying to do. He's trying to set up his defense so they could potentially go win that game. That's not what happened. The thing unfolded. They ended up losing 110 to 105. But they actually took a lead on the next possession. Seth Curry stepped to the line, hit 1 of 2, tied the game at 101. They came down. Doug McDermott hit a 3 to make it 104 to 101. Then the Kings struggled to finish off the game. It's funny how these things take on a life of their own so quickly, especially in the day and age of social media. But anyone who has watched this Kings team this season understands that they aren't very good. The collection of players is off. The injuries have hit the team hard. Same goes for the Warriors, though. The Warriors have had brutal injuries. I mean, Steph Curry just coming back from injuries, missed a ton of time. Jimmy Butler blew out his knee early in the season. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, and the dude just can't play half the time. Look, I'm not going to make excuses for the Kings. The Kings have had a really bad season. Again, this is year 16 for me. And if you thought that I would see less than 24, 25 wins, which were the worst seasons I ever covered all the way back in 2010 and 2011, I never thought we would get to 21 win season. But I want to add this. Since the All-Star break, the Kings are 9-15. The Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors, they're 8-16. The Kings have a better record than the Warriors since the All-Star break. And it was actually 2 games better before the Kings lost in the final minutes of the game the other night. So it is what it is. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to dive into this idea of whether we should be discussing who is the next head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Doug Christie is the current head coach, but there are a couple of people out there who just keep demanding that we discuss who the next coach of the Sacramento Kings will be. Who is going to be Doug Christie's replacement? So when we come back, we're going to hit that conversation because I think that there's a reason why you don't see lists at this point of potential coaching hires in Sacramento. And it makes a little bit of sense to have that conversation next. This episode of Locked On Kings is sponsored by BetterHelp. Financial stress is something that a lot of people are carrying right now, and it's not just about the numbers. It can affect your sleep, your relationships, and your overall mental health in ways that build up over time. And the reality is, struggling with money doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it just means you haven't had the right kind of support. uh, the stress that comes with trying to figure out everything on your own, the expectations you feel that you have to have everything all together, and how that pressure can spill into every area of your life. Therapy isn't about financial advice. It's about working through the stress, the anxiety, and the emotions that come with it. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served, BetterHelp makes it easier to get a match and start focusing on what you need. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. Today's episode of Locked On Kings is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Check out FanDuel.com to get started today. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Locked On Kings is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. If you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayers Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Go to lockedonkings.supercast.com. All right, let's dive into this question about Doug Christie. Look, Doug Christie made a strategic error against the Warriors. It's not the first mistake. His first mistake this season is 2 more games, and there's a potential for more mistakes to happen. That's what being an NBA head coach is. They make mistakes all the time. He's not the only one. Eric Spoelstra, one of the great coaches in the league, a future Hall of Famer. You remember last season, he called a timeout he didn't have, and it cost his team a game. Straight up. They lost a game because they were out of timeouts. He called one. It was a technical. Free throw got hit. They lost a game. So, look, coaches make mistakes. That happens. That's what being an NBA coach is. It's balancing ideas and hunches and everything you know about your team and attempting to at least do your best in each situation. And I think Doug Christie has tried to do that this season. I don't think it's always worked out. Clearly, this team has not been good from start to finish. But over the course of the last few months, there have been plenty of fans that want to blame the entirety of the 2025-26 season on Doug Christie. Maybe that's fair in their minds. I don't know. They complain when the Kings lose. There's a huge group of people that complain when the Kings lose. They complain when the Kings win because now they might be destroying their lottery chances. And how could Doug Christie do this to the fans that have loved him since he was part of the team in the early 2000s? Realistically, Kings fans have every right to complain when their team is 21-59, but there's a lot of complaining that's going on. So now we're getting towards the end of the season. It's almost over. 80 games out of 82 are done. We'll know the fate of Doug Christie and his staff on Sunday night, on Monday, on Tuesday, certainly by Wednesday. I guarantee you by Wednesday, we will know whether Doug Christie will be the head coach of the Kings next season or not. And it may come through a tweet from Shams. It may come through someone like myself who gets information that he's either staying or he's not staying. It could come from a press release from the Kings that comes out of nowhere, and it's like either he's staying or he's not. If he's not staying, we'll get that press release. If he is staying, chances are we won't. It'll be just business as usual. Doug Christie will be part of exit interviews next week when the Kings host the media for both Scott Perry, but also the players as they go through. And there's a good chance that we'll talk to him then. And look, here's why. This is why I think that we're reluctant as media to dive into this world. It's because Doug Christie is still the coach. And we can speculate about the future of Doug Christie. I've talked about it here on the podcast. I don't know what's going to happen, right? And fans, you're more than welcome to speculate. And if you don't want Doug Christie to be the coach, that's fine. Go ahead and do whatever you want to do on social media. That's part of your role as fans. It's part of your right as a U.S. citizen that has First Amendment rights to say whatever you want. But if we're going to talk about, demanding a list from media members of who is going to be the next coach of the Kings, you're way out over your skis. You just are. And look, I think it's a fool's errand, right? So I just want to touch base on a couple of things here. Number one, Doug Christie might be back for another season. So discussing a list of potential candidates doesn't make any sense if he is actually still has a job. He's under contract. He's set to make over $2 million next year. He's under contract for next season. So on paper, Doug Christie is the head coach of the Sacramento Kings next year. I don't know that that's going to be the case or not. I have no idea. But I want to read you something from Jake Fisher via the Mark Stein newsletter that he put out just a couple of days ago. He states this. In nearby Sacramento, meanwhile, I'm told that there are scenarios under consideration in which Christie would be back next season to coach the Kings despite their 21, now 59 struggles. He has one guaranteed season left on his contract for the 26-27 season, sources say, before a team option in 27-28. I've heard that the Kings are still evaluating Christie's future based on the premise that Sacramento's various injury woes have made it difficult to gauge his true capability in the role. Injuries have played a tremendous role in what's happened here in Sacramento. Now, look, if you're a fan and say, well, why are we worried about those injuries? Because most of the team that we see right now, there's a good chance a lot of them won't be back. So why are we worried about Doug Christie and injuries and all that stuff? Well, it's because if you're going to give a guy a grade for a season, you should probably at least consider some of the pieces in place that have caused the season to go as far south as it has. Injuries are part of that conversation. They are a reason. They are not an excuse. Now, that doesn't excuse everything. There's all kinds of things that have gone wrong this season, and those are other reasons why he might be terminated. But again, I have no idea. Now, look, if you really want a list of names of potential coaching hires, this is not Sacramento based, but a list of coaches that may be hired this season, this offseason, Fisher also has a list for you. You can go look at it. San Antonio, Sean Sweeney. Minnesota's Micah Nori, former Sacramento Kings assistant coach Micah Nori. Denver's Jared Dudley. Oklahoma City's Dave Bliss. Miami's Chris Quinn. Houston's Royal Ivy. And Detroit's Luke Walton, former Sacramento Kings head coach Luke Walton. Here's the problem with this list. How many of those coaches have any ties to Scott Perry or BJ Armstrong? Some of them do. What about Mike Woodson, who is currently on the Kings staff as the associate head coach and who does have major ties to Scott Perry? How about a return of Dave Yeager? He's with the Bucks. There's a potential for him to be free this summer. Maybe he makes a return. How about Sam Cassell, who gets interviews every year with some team? Now, here's the point. If Doug Christie is let go, there's going to be a list of coaches that are interviewed by the team. That list could be 3 people, could be 8 people. We have no idea. Then there's going to be a second round and potentially a third round of interviews, right? If we start filling out this list right now, it's just crazy talk. Because let's go back to a few years ago when the Kings hired Mike Brown. Their first round of interviews went the way it went. Their second round, they narrowed it down. It was Charles Lee, Darvin Ham, Mark Jackson, Mike D'Antoni, and Steve Clifford. Does anyone remember that? The problem is this list just felt completely random when it happened. When they cut it down, there were so many Charles Lee and Darvin Ham fans in Sacramento. Everyone's pulling for those guys, even Will Hardy. Everyone, oh, come on, like go get one of these guys, right? Then it got whittled down, and the final list was Steve Clifford, Mark Jackson, and Mike Brown, right? Like if anyone could have told me that would be the list of 3 candidates, I would have told you you are absolutely crazy that Mike Brown was going to get a second shot, another shot to come back and be a coach. Mark Jackson was going to come out of the booth, and Steve Clifford, who I'm not sure, like very good defensive coach, but has struggled to win at a couple of different spots, that he's going to be the finalist. So that's my point. My point is like, we don't have any information at all right now because there's nothing being leaked out because they still have a head coach. Now, I get it. There are a lot of people out there that want to know, like, who could be we have to get through the basics here. The basics are we have to see if Doug Christie is going to be the head coach or not. After that, the team is going to dictate. You'll hear it through agents, but the team is going to dictate who their list is of potential coaches. And that list could be 3 people. It could be like last time the job came open this summer. It could just be Mike Woodson, because last year it was just Doug Christie. So I just want to put it out there. We're not hiding from this. It's just there's no starting point. There's not a legitimate starting point. Should we, like, again, just circle all the coaches that at one time were tied to Scott Perry? Is Tom Thibodeau going to be on the list of potential Sacramento Kings coaches? I don't know. We have to get there first. We have to wait. So look, I really do understand the angst. I don't understand the angst of coming at media members and demanding that we start talking about this. We're not talking about it because we don't know what's going to happen with Doug. And that's straight up. It's a long off season. There's plenty of time to have these discussions. And like it's very different than critiquing a coach. I also see this. Well, we talk about player trades. We talk about potential free agent signings and all that stuff. That is so different. When you're a head coach and you get let go, you're now fired. You're now unemployed. When you're a player and you might get traded, you're still employed. You're still under contract. When we're talking about potential free agent signings, that's additions. That's people getting hired. When we're talking about a coach potentially getting fired or not getting fired, there should be a certain amount of respect in that. So that's just my point of view. Look, again, when someone gets fired, I want to give them a certain amount of grace, especially someone like Doug Christie, who loves his franchise and loves the city of Sacramento as much or more than any former player that's ever come through here. So that's why we're not sitting here talking about it every single day about who the next potential head coach could be. There might become a time for that. We're just not there yet. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, DeMar DeRozan is being celebrated by the Kings on Friday night. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. They're going to do it one way or another. All right, the playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here. And there's no better way to get in on the high-flying action than Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. Every bucket, every assist, every big moment means more when you're building lineups on Prize Picks. Prize Picks makes it simple to play. It's daily fantasy built around player projections so you can stay locked in every game. Here's what I like about it. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats, which makes it quick and easy to jump in. You can mix different sports in the same lineup, basketball, baseball, hockey, and more. And there's even early payouts that let you lock in a win early if your player gets off to a strong start. It's a fun way to stay engaged, especially during the most important stretch of the season. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. All right. Friday is officially DeMar DeRozan Day at Golden One Center. When Golden State Warriors roll into town, DeMar DeRozan is going to be celebrated. There will be a poster handed out to the crowd. And look, this is an interesting tribute. DeMar DeRozan talked about it today at practice. He said, look, I've gone through all kinds of things here in my career, be it a tribute video from the Bulls, a tribute video from the Raptors, a tribute video from the San Antonio Spurs. So he's not new to this. After 17 years in the league, he's kind of used to this. And also, I would point out that earlier in this season, the Kings paid tribute to Russell Westbrook in a very similar way. They had a basketball card giveaway night. And on top of that, they also went ahead and handed out posters, just like what we're seeing from this DeRozan situation. So look, I'm not going to judge at this point. I do think, just Sacramento Kings, I would say this, like doing these tributes and stuff are fine. But I also there's a couple of tributes you've missed. You should probably hang a banner from the roof with Rick Adelman's name on it. Rick Adelman is the greatest coach in this franchise's history and deserves to be immortalized with his name in the rafters. I also have made a point to the Kings that the media room should be the Gary Gerald media room. He's been the most amazing employee for them, but, voice that you could possibly imagine for a team like the Kings. He's just incredible, and he should be able to be immortalized in the building in multiple ways, right? So there are things that are happening here that should happen. But look, DeMar DeRozan, what he's done as a King, you can look at it as just a blip on the radar, but it's still really impressive. He's climbed up the all-time scoring list in such a dramatic way since he's become a King. And that's because he put in an incredible 15 years in the NBA before he got to Sacramento. But also the last 2 years, he's actually been a very good player. And look, I think that, when we pull back a little bit, I'll be super honest with you. I thought that DeMar DeRozan, when he signed with the Kings a couple of summers ago, was a square peg in a round hole. I still feel that to a certain degree. I don't think that he was the right fit for a team. That doesn't change the respect I have for DeMar DeRozan, the basketball player. He's a 6-time All-Star. He's multi-time All-NBA player. I believe him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And certainly if he's number 16 all-time in scoring, the stats also say that. So, look, I was watching earlier today, and it's almost like people are piggybacking off this idea that, DeRozan's is having, this weird celebration by the Kings. And I saw some fan who got into a weird exchange with DeMar DeRozan. To be honest with you, it was very strange. Some internet guy, Carson Breber, he made this claim: DeMar DeRozan only needs to average 18 points per game for another 105 games to surpass Shaq in career points and enter the all-time top 10. And then he added this: I find this deeply disturbing. DeMar DeRozan saw it and responded in a way that I think is like perfectly fitting. DeRozan tweeted back, "Disturbing!" exclamation point, question mark. F that mean. He didn't say F. He said the elongated version of F. Who the hell is you to have an opinion on somebody's career, clown? I'm with DeMar on this. Like, look, again, I was tough on him just because I didn't think he would fit the Kings system. I gotta be honest, I still don't think he fits what the Kings were trying to do when they signed him, 2 summers ago. That doesn't mean that you disrespect one of the greatest scorers in the history of the game. And that's what DeRozan is. Like, look, you get this deep into your career and you're number 16 all time, where you just passed Dominique Wilkins. The next player on the list is Hakeem Olajuwon. You need to be celebrated. Like, you've had a great career. And fans out there, you can be frustrated all you want, but like, look, DeMar DeRozan's not 7'2", 300 pounds. He doesn't walk around basically as a gigantic Superman. That's Shaquille O'Neal. Whatever DeMar DeRozan's done is one of the most impressive things ever. A 6'6" wing to go out there and just keep plugging away and doing his thing. Yeah, sure. A lot of the top scorers are like this, right? But like, man, you can't diminish what he's done. It just doesn't make any sense. This is 17 years of elite basketball. Like, even this season, he's averaging over 18 points per game. And I'll just add this: at age 36, he played 77 games so far this season. There's potential for him to play another game or two. I don't think two, because he's already been ruled out for game 81 against the Warriors. But look, he went out and averaged 31 minutes a game. So I'm not going to, again, diminish who DeMar DeRozan is as a player. He deserves every bit of the accolades that he's getting because he's done the work. He's gone out there and he's performed. Go watch him warm up. Watch him not miss a shot in his warm-ups. Also, look at how the league has changed while DeMar DeRozan's been in the league. The fact that a mid-range jump shooter who doesn't have a bunch of three-point shots under his belt to sit there and bump his stats up even more. We're talking about a legitimate, mostly mid-range jump shooter is this high on the all-time scoring list. Man, give the dude his props. It's just ridiculous. We can be harsh on players, but going at somebody who's been this great for this long, I'm not going to do it. Again, you can disagree with whether DeMar DeRozan is a fit or whether, again, Russell Westbrook is why he's with the Kings, or, all of these questions that fans have all the time about the stats side of it. But it takes greatness for years and years and years to do what DeMar DeRozan is doing. And I'm not going to take that away from him. I just think that's ridiculous. All right. Thanks for tuning in to today's Locked On Kings. We'll be back tomorrow. The Kings actually face the Golden State Warriors, game 81 of the regular season. We only have 2 games left, with the final game being on Sunday. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up and all that stuff. That helps the algorithm of life. We always appreciate that. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Kings ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonkings.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure to make your second listen of the day NBA Game Night on Locked On Kings.